I was asked if I would do a video about Glocks, so I thought I would throw this one together. I went to the range today and did some things and did some demonstrations. Again, the sound quality out there was so bad today that I'm going to have to do a voiceover. So, I'm going to do a little close-up demonstration of something that I showed out at the range so that you can get a better look at it. And this has to do with if you're going to carry your Glock, you have two options. Number one, you carry it without a round in the chamber. Everybody's aware, well, if you're not a Glock owner, maybe you're not, but there is no external safety on a Glock. The only safety mechanism is here, and again, this weapon is unloaded. The only safety mechanism is on the trigger. So, basically, this has to be treated as essentially a double action only semi-auto pistol with no safety. The only thing that prevents it from going off is not touching the trigger. So you have two options. Number one, you carry it without a round in the chamber, which means every time you draw your weapon, you have to work the slide. And you will have to train for that. And I'm going to show you that in a video. The other option is carry it with a round in the chamber and keeping your finger off the trigger. But the thing to remember with that is most accidental discharges with the Glock occur because people don't pay attention to what they're doing when they try to reholster the weapon when there's a round in the chamber. If you use a paddle holster like this is a Phobos, it's designed for the Glock 19. If I have a round in the chamber, I can take this off, point it in a safe direction, away from anyone at the ground or whatever, keep your fingers off the trigger, slide it into the holster, and then just put the holster on my hip. Now, this is an open top design. There's no retention strap, there's no thumb brake, so tension is the only retention on this holster. Tension, retention, say that 10 times real fast. But anyway, if you have retention straps that wrap around your weapon, a thumb brake, if you have loose pieces of clothing, your shirt tail hanging down, cords on your concealment clothing, anything. If anything gets in the way or happens to work its way inside this trigger guard while you're holstering this weapon, you're risking having a discharge. And that's what happens in most cases when people have an accidental discharge with the Glock. When they're holstering the weapon, something is inside the holster, something gets wedged behind the trigger guard, they push it down and it activates the trigger. Next thing you know, you have a hole in your leg. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the range video that I did demonstrating both methods of carrying the Glock safely, how to holster the weapon, how to draw it, and we're going to have some fun, and I'm going to time the difference between carrying it with a round in the chamber and without, and we'll see what we come up with. To start off, we're just going to holster the weapon. I have my holster, my Phobos paddle holster, and my Glock. I'm going to load it up and put a round in the chamber, keeping my finger off the trigger at all times. Going to take the holster, hold it away from my body in a safe direction, insert the gun, and then I can mount the holster directly to my hip. And there you have it. Now, this is 0.8 seconds from grip to first round fired, with a round in the chamber. Now watch, I look down into the holster, finger off the trigger, or use my offhand to keep my clothing out of the way. I'll do it the same way every time. It's just my method. It's how I ensure that I'm doing it safely. Look down in, keep the clothing back, finger way off the trigger. And again, this is 0.7 to 0.8 seconds. Bear in mind, you have to hit the target when you're doing this. I'm shooting at paper plates. And if you have a hard time hitting paper plates, drawing and firing, start with a silhouette target and work your way down to the paper plates. But in this situation, I'm using paper plates to double tap. And again, the same method every time I holster the weapon. Grip, draw. This one was 7.7 seconds. Now, we're going to have to work the slide when we draw. That's 1 second from grip to first shot fired. So there is a 0.2 second trade-off involved in that. And again, you have to hit the target, otherwise your speed is completely meaningless. So notice my left hand, after I work the slide, is going in a circular motion around to get my grip. It's not going anywhere near the front of the pistol. You have to keep that in mind. So now we're going to go through both methods. First, we're going to work the slide, and this is just so that you can see the difference in the technique and the difference in time. It's 1 second from grip to first shot. And now we'll put a round in the chamber and holster. And again, you'll see that I holster exactly the same way every time. We'll draw and fire, 0.7 seconds. So, now that you've learned how to properly holster, reholster, and safely carry your Glock, again, this is an unloaded weapon. What you need to do is, before you feel comfortable with that, it's all about trusting your equipment. Take the holster you're going to use, work the slide, set your trigger, slide it in and out of the holster, shove it in the holster, pull it out, shove it in again. Do this several dozen times. Make sure that the way this holster is manufactured, that nothing on the holster itself is going to interfere with safely inserting the weapon. Once you feel confident that your choice of holster is going to safely let you carry your Glock with a round in the chamber, that option is yours. Once you're there, it's really not any different than carrying a double action revolver. It's the same situation. The trigger pull, yes, is a little bit lighter, but it's the same level of care, the same consciousness to safety that you have to use when carrying a double action pistol like this revolver. Now, it's just up to you to decide which is going to work best for you. Unfortunately, no communists were injured during the filming of this episode. MilPro acronyms, no responsibility for your stupidity. Train safe, train hard, stay alive.